Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. Liftoff.
Hello. What's up, guys? Hunter Klein here, bringing you Interplanetary Monkeys, episode number 29, where overthinkers come to overthink. I think I like that little intro right there. Where overthinkers come to overthink. I think it fits our brand very well. Now let's address the elephant in the room. IP Monkeys has gone visual. Yes, now we are on YouTube. Some of you may be watching from YouTube now. I already had the account, the workflow set up from Conversations on Curiosity. So now it was just about taking the leap for Interplanetary Monkeys. And after, I got past the whole wealth of excuses I was making for why I wasn't doing this, we're making it happen. Some computer upgrades, making things go a little faster, and so on, guys. So now we're here. So along with the weekly episodes on Spotify, iTunes, whatever audio program you may be using, episodes will always be up Monday morning on YouTube. So enjoy, guys. This is just this constant upgrading we're always talking about. We're moving forward. Like I said, audio is still released, but we gotta continue to progress. We gotta continue to upgrade things. Along with the addition of video. I'm always spouting about, upgrading, evolving. We are taking some huge steps in the monetization side of things, friends. Now, this being that we are now launching the Interplanetary Monkeys Patreon page. So, until now, 29 weeks of recording episodes, I have not made a single dime off of this podcast, which is not a problem at all. I want to clarify that. That's not an issue. I have another job on the side, and I love this, guys. I love the interaction. I love that I can just kind of come on here and spout things, and people can vibe with it, can use it to spur conversations, etc. But with the aspirations for the podcast and the future that we always talk about so much, having income to supplement, growth and upgrades and certain things that we want to add is so important, guys. So I don't think it's going to take off immediately, but it's there and we're going to be growing it. Now there's a lot to this. I'll cover quickly. I'll cover the rest on the actual Patreon website because I don't want to clog this too much. If you want to support, you can go get your information on patreon.com/IPmonkeys. But for now, Patreon subscribers will get an extra episode every Thursday. Right? I don't want you to just give money to the podcast with nothing in return. I would feel bad about it. So I'm going to add another episode, extra content for you if you are supporting. This could be behind the scenes, briefing on podcast plans, etc. And there's other benefits, of course, to come. This is brand new, guys. I just launched this weekend. Created the whole website, made the logos. It's a fun process. But my biggest thing, and I look forward to this, the implementation of this second episode a week and this kind of behind the scenes type of supporter program, is that right now it might be obvious to you guys that there are two parts of this podcast, right? There's the content side, right? That overthinker in all of us that comes to IP Monkeys to flesh things out. And that's more of like the content side, the playful ideas and such. Then there's the development, growth, and community building. And these two are kind of clashing right now in our episodes. And Patreon will give me the ease of separating these a little better, right? So if someone's just coming by IP Monkeys for their first time, they don't have to sit through all the community building, all this like growth discussion that we have. I can keep that to the Patreon. So if you're interested, I'm assuming that if you're supporting the podcast, you're interested to see where it's going to go. And that's what the Patreon is for. Of course, we'll have some discussions. We might be a little more in-depth. All Patreon content will be exclusive. That is, you will not be able to get Patreon episodes on YouTube. They're private links. So it's just kind of like a, reward system. If you're going to give money to the podcast, guys, I think you deserve, I got to give something back, right? It can't just be like a one-way street. So, yeah, nothing changes about the public access Interplanetary Monkeys, though, right? Public free episodes go live, no ads, every Monday. No doubt about it. YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. So there you go, guys. The reason for all this, and I've been thinking, especially going to the Patreon and kind of thinking about the future of the podcast and being inspired to continue these upgrades. I want you guys to imagine this for a second. Okay. My voice, somewhat scuffed now, sounds absolutely perfect, right? This is a scenario. I'm in a sound studio that is painted and designed for Interplanetary Monkeys podcast. Right, we have a green wall over here, a blue wall over here. There's a neon sign behind me that shines IP Monkeys. The quality of the video is 4K, resembling probably your favorite TV show. Along with my voice is a new voice, the podcast producer, who handles all technical stuff as I riffed about life with you all. We have images coming up on the screen on our YouTube episodes, on our YouTube stream. This is what I imagine for the future of this podcast, guys. And I truly, truly, truly think about this when I'm making episodes, when I'm going through editing videos, when I'm thinking about upgrading the podcast to be more. What new features can we add? How can I give back? How can I make the community better? I see it so clearly, guys. And I don't mean to get too inspirational or too motivational, because no one needs a motivational speech from a 22-year-old. But, the reason that I have these aspirations is not because of how many downloads we get a week. And it's not because how much we are growing or how many newspaper articles we have written about us. The reason I have these aspirations and I think about this stuff so clearly and have so much confidence in it is because I know without a damn doubt that I will be here recording this episode every weekend for years to come. Consistency, guys. I really think that's the name of the game. And that consistency is not because this episode might pop off or in 3 weeks we will have more listeners, but it's very long term, guys. It's because 5, 6, 7 years down the road, we will have a goddamn society built behind us. And I know this is far out and preemptive, but I really don't truly, guys, I truly do not see the other options. All right. The way I look at it, there are two other options. One of the other options is to put down the hand and fold and just say, okay, downloads last week weren't very good. And people keep asking me how the podcast is doing. Now, this isn't necessarily the case. We're growing, things are going well. But, you could have this idolized picture in your head where, I want 1,000 downloads a week. Why am I not there yet? This must not be good. Right? So then I would say, you know what? I'm going to fold, right? We tried it, 29 weeks, we're done. And then the second option would be to say, what we would be is great and all, but what are the chances, right? What are the chances that this podcast becomes a potential career path? And both of those, guys, sound so insanely depressing to me. And those are really the only other two alternatives. It's giving up and then succumbing to the chances or odds that this podcast becomes something. And I was thinking about how I can maybe provide value for you guys through this discussion. And I think it just comes back to this mindset in no matter what passion or career or, dream you're pursuing, is that what is life without a passion or project that you are building? I don't know if I didn't have this podcast, if I didn't have a future to dream about, the growth and, the career opportunities that arise from this podcast, I would be not nearly as happy as I am today, guys. What is life without a dream or aspiration that you can picture so clearly, guys, that when you're listening to music by yourself or when you're in the zone, you literally get goosebumps thinking about the potential outcomes. And yet when it comes together in your head, right, when you see that picture, I know we're getting far out, and I know we're walking this line of a 22-year-old motivational speaker, which I don't really want to get behind. But it is how I see this, guys. It is why this podcast will continue. And it's why that I think everybody needs to, start creating, start their own little side adventure. Something that you can think about, something you can dream about, something that you can put your full force into, and you might catch a lucky break with it. And I don't believe in a lot, guys. For whatever reason, the experiences of life have plopped me in a very raw and simple place. No religions, no higher powers, to each their own. This is my experience. Yours could be very different. But just me in the sandbox that is planet Earth and the human experience is really how I look at things. As sad or as beautiful as you may think that is, that's the way it is. It's a very raw approach to life. And one of the only things that really matters to me is progression and building as much as I can with the time that I have. Building a fruitful future for me and my future family, my siblings, my mother, and having the best possible time on the way with loved ones and friends and such. The point in me saying all this is that we aren't going anywhere, guys. We have to. Guys, we have to see what happens when we stick to IP monkeys for 4, 5, 6 years. Because the alternative is so sad, guys. And it lingers. And it's a huge, massive what if that'll be there forever in my life if I don't do anything. And that's to say, we have to recognize, are we scuffed right now? Is the project scuffed? Absolutely. Right? But we push forward. I have like 17. I have a video recorder on right now. I have my sound software on. I have my notes. I'm trying to do this all solo. I'm editing afterwards. I'm editing video, audio. It's not going to be the best, but this is what we have to do, because the alternatives are sad. The alternatives are giving up, half-assing it, and so on, guys. But yeah, I had to go on that rant, guys. It's link, especially me putting in so much work with the podcast this week. This is a huge, huge, huge thing on my mind. Especially the last 3 or 4 days. The motivation. How do we keep going? Sometimes at night, guys, I'll literally kind of come out of this motivational stupor and think how the hell do you have so much faith in this? It's something, I don't know. Do you guys ever want to just peek at the end of your story? 10, 15 years down the road? What happened? If I stay on this path, what the fuck happens? This is me so heavy right now. So heavy right now. I'm constantly battling between, am I doing enough or am I doing too much? And it is a weird, weird line to be navigating, guys. The brain's a very interesting thing. Speaking of the brain, guys, make sure we're acknowledging mental health, your mental state. How are you doing? Talk to people, etc. In my communities, some of my passions, some of my areas that I spend a lot of time, a lot of people are, succumbing or falling victim to mental health issues. And it's not good, man. People got to talk about it, especially in times like this with lockdown. I don't know. Some of you may be a little more social right now than I am. Maybe you aren't. Maybe your state where you're living, COVID isn't as much of an issue. So the social sphere has opened back up. But here things are very closed. And, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't lacking some, in-person human experience. So just acknowledge it, guys. Think about it. Maybe try to do something about it and focus on it. I will say this again. I mentioned it last week. IP Monkey's phone number is 602-892-4371. Now, this isn't necessarily a mental health hotline like it may seem the way I segued from mental health to this number, but I do want to make this a platform or a channel where you guys can just call in and talk about things. Bring up a topic. Ask me what I think about it. Say your thoughts on it, and I can bounce off of it. You don't even need to say your name, guys. It doesn't really matter. Having some community-induced feedback will be fantastic, and I'm hoping that I can draw that out of the Patreon here in the next couple months. But for now, guys, feel free to call in, talk about things. Like I said, the number, one more time, the official IP Monkeys number. This isn't my number that I'm kind of side using as IP Monkeys. This is the sole IP Monkeys voicemail box, and that is 602-892-4371. It'll become very obvious that it is IP monkeys solely because the voicemail box will detail everything where you're calling and so on. Now, if you guys have been living under a rock, not necessarily, maybe if you're not just really in the educational sphere, something really, really big has come from the administration as of last week, and that is that Trump has signed or filed an executive order on international students. Okay, not too bad. But this is July 6th. Trump announced that international students operating entirely online may not take a full online course load and may not remain in the United States. Let me clarify that because the language gets a little janky there. International students that do not have in-person classes during a pandemic will not be issued visas and are not allowed to remain in the United States. A very odd executive order to pass, knowing that all students in the U.S. are going online this next year. So by making this, the administration is 100% aware that they are pretty much saying all international students need to leave the United States. Now, you know I'm not the most political guy, and you know I don't like to make this podcast political, but this MFer, guys, is literally threatening to kick international students out of America, which is insane. Now, regardless of your political stances or views, this Chester Cheeto is trying to pluck people that I care about off prosperous U.S. soil, and I'm not okay with it, and I don't think anybody should. But let's be thorough here. Is Trump honestly trying to kick immigrants out of America? No. Guys, I work in one of the biggest universities in the United States, and I have regular meetings with officials, high ups. This is a huge thing for us right now in regards to funding, so I am very in tune with what's going on here and what the motivations are. What Trump is trying to do is that he's trying to pressure schools to open this fall. Right? He wants us to hold in-person classes, and a majority of us have announced online classes. That is, hold in-person classes on campus. This can be seen in a recent tweet of his, guys. We're not reaching here, and I quote, this is exactly what he tweeted on the day that this executive order was passed, in all caps, schools must open this fall. Pretty straightforward. So yes, the order is insane and extreme, but it is not off-brand for President Trump. He wants universities to open this fall, and the dude went all in to make it happen. Now, unfortunately, he went all in using international students as the stack of chips in this game that he's playing. Now, what does this do for universities? It puts them in a position where they're forced to put their students at risk of COVID outbreaks, all right? Now, what if, obviously, universities aren't just going to like sit back and let this happen? MIT and Harvard, two of the most powerful universities in the United States, have actually filed a lawsuit against the administration, and other universities have followed, including ASU. Now, this is just logical, guys. I don't see much of an alternative because he's really backing universities in the United States into a corner here, right? It's pretty crazy to threaten the international student population at your university and saying you're just going to remove them from the country if we don't open. Now, this has a huge impact on the higher education system, guys. Like I said, I work in this area, and it's not a joke. International students, just a little fun fact, generally, more often than not, pay full tuition. So they're a huge income source for universities. Universities that are already struggling financially from COVID and reduced enrollment and lack of facilities on campus being used. So it's nuts, guys. It's nuts. So pretty much if we had to dumb this conversation down into one sentence, what Trump is saying is, if you do not open this fall, we take a large source of your funding away. We take a huge portion of your student population, a student population that pays a lot of money at your schools. And yeah, guys, it's messy. It's extremely messy. And Kanye West is running for president to pull the minority vote for Trump. Oh my goodness, guys. Things are getting crazy out there, man. We need the Twitter warriors to cancel 2020. Shut it down, man. Shut it down. Yeah, guys, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. COVID, the more I look into it, the more I'm realizing that, it's not just the flu. I was never one of those people that were spouting that around, saying that, it's not that big of a deal. It's just the flu. Don't worry about it. But the more I'm looking at cases and, while people aren't dying, younger people aren't dying, it's a real shitty thing to be caught with, guys. A 10, 12-day sickness that goes away and comes back like the sun in Nebraska. It's an interesting thing. It'll be interesting to see how things play out going forward, guys. Because it's one of those things. Can we completely eradicate it? Probably not. So what does that mean? That it's going to be around forever. If it's around forever, that means that everybody's eventually going to get it. Now, is it good that we're delaying the process? Yeah. It's just such a complex thing, guys. And, we're humans. I am on the side. I do stand very strongly with the idea that we're humans, man. Interpersonal communication and, being around people physically is extremely important. The fact that my job has transferred solely from in-person classes to all Zoom, it's a whole different beast, guys. Zoom meetings day in and day out are not the way. Staying in your house and so on. It's not healthy, man, especially for me. I need to be on the move. I need to be running around, going from different buildings to different buildings, working in different environments, getting a different vibe from different places. And that's just me. Some interesting studies that are, as research on COVID develops and we start seeing some very odd facts, guys, some very odd facts like UV radiation or sunlight almost destroys COVID instantly. That is a very, very odd Achilles heel for a disease to have that is so developed, right? The reason I say this, the reason I say this is because there's a lot of evidence and a lot of the research that I just referenced pointing to the fact that this disease was created and evolved indoors. Now you can take that a step farther and say that this disease was created or evolved in a lab, guys. A disease that naturally formed in nature would most likely not be successful if it died instantly when in contact to sunlight. There's a lot of sunlight out there. So things are getting dicey, guys, and that's not an off-the-cuff perspective from me. That is legitimately, some health professionals, which I am not, some health professionals are starting to entertain this idea a little more. So things are a little sketch in regards to where this came from, and it would explain why it's so unique, guys. Because it is very unique in the way that it operates in a human. It's almost different for everyone. It goes away and comes back like just in insane frequencies and very odd times. It functions strange. And it has some weird weaknesses that aren't normal for a disease or a virus that would pop up in nature. Okay, we'll end the discussion there, guys. I don't want to drone too much on about COVID. You guys know the deal in my perspective. As far as reaching me, guys, I changed my Instagram handle and a lot of other social medias to It's Hunter Klein, no spaces. So follow me on those. Stay up to date with the podcast information, release times, and such. I've been very dormant on social media recently, guys. I can't, honestly. I got tired of it. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to take some time away and just focus on my passions, right? No more social media. I just gotta log myself in and work. Staying off Instagram, giving myself a little dopamine reset or cleanse from, the like calculator of the brain. Not posting as much and, just kind of doing my own thing, trying to get my life together, trying to survive through these odd times, all right? I hope everybody's doing well. One more time before we go, the Google Voice phone number for Interplanetary Monkeys is 602-892-4371. Call in, please. We'll have some discussion. Recently, we haven't been getting too many calls, but that's no big deal. We'll let that voicemail overload fill up a little bit, and then we'll have some discussions when, maybe we have 3 or 4 messages in there to go. All right. I think that's it for this week of Interplanetary Monkeys. I'll see you guys next Monday. Peace.